Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of the day it is that you're joining us for what we affectionately refer to as the Scene Video Zoom slash podcast, sort of. Anyway, I am here with my colleagues, the lovely and talented Jimmy Trammell and the lovelier and talented Grace Wood. And we are here to talk about what will be coming up in the entertainment, lifestyle, and culinary worlds of Tulsa that you can read about in the Tulsa World Scene section, available wherever fine newspapers are sold, and also online at tulsaworld.com. We will start off in a music way. A band that was popular and then broke up is coming back together, and I believe Jimmy knows all about that.
Yeah, the Turnpike Troubadours have two shows this weekend at Cain's Ballroom, and those shows sold out, to quote Chad Rogers from Cain's Ballroom, faster than immediately. And it wasn't just a Cain's Ballroom phenomenon. This is happening everywhere with the Turnpike Troubadours. If James, you, or Grace, or I were to go get another gig and not be at the Tulsa Whirl, the readers would just move on to whoever's writing next. Instead of the Troubadours fans moving on to the flavor of the day, they just got more popular. So in 2.5 years, despite being on the sideline, their popularity just exploded in those 2.5 years.
Was it because of the pandemic, or was it the always popular artistic differences that caused them to stop performing together?
They just needed to quote Ross and Rachel and Friends, they were just on a break, I guess is the best way to put it. It was not pandemic induced, but it turned out to be, you hate to say anything is fortunate due to a pandemic, which is tragic, but it did work out from that standpoint. At the time they were away, they couldn't have been doing gigs anyway because of the pandemic.
Okay, all right. And that show is coming up when at the Cain's again?
I believe Friday and Saturday at Cain's Ballroom.
Okay, because I know they are an Oklahoma group, right? Or am I?
They're Tahlequah based, but they also have some history in Stillwater, where they had a little place called the Ski Chalet, where their home was nicknamed, out on the west side of Stillwater.
Any reason why it was called that, knowing Stillwater is not known for any type of skiing other than the brewskis? But
well, as John Cooper from the Red Dirt Rangers was telling me yesterday, all the little music hangouts had to have a name. So you had the farm, and you had the Yellow House, and because the Troubadours place looked like a little tilted ceiling ski chalet, it was named the Ski Chalet. So there you go.
Okay, well, there you go. That's there you go is probably the best thing we can say about that. They're an interesting bunch over there in Stillwater. You've got to give them that. Well, I know that other places get odd names like Airbnb. We have the well-known Buck Adam crash pad behind the Buck Adams Curios. But Grace, you've got a story about some people that are touring the country via Airbnb, sort of, in a way, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my story for Saturday is about a mother-daughter and grandmother trio from Maryland who recently got kind of the opportunity of a lifetime. This past July, they were informed that they had been chosen to be a part of the Live Anywhere on Airbnb program, which was a really highly competitive application process. And now Airbnb has provided 12 winners of that contest the chance to travel all over the world for a year while getting to stay in the Airbnbs of their choice completely for free. So it's a really, really cool opportunity. And Lindsay, Anna, and Bev, they're the trio. They chose to kind of do a road trip all over the US. They've been staying everywhere from Portland, Maine to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And now they're staying right here in Tulsa for the next few weeks. Their Airbnb is downtown. And something that's really, really cool about Lindsay, Anna, and Bev is that their traveling has a much bigger purpose. Anna, the daughter, has a disease called osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a genetic disorder that has her using a wheelchair every day. So much of their travel and kind of the way they've been documenting it on social media and on their blogs has kind of been meant to inspire other people in wheelchairs that, you know, traveling can be accessible for anyone. And they also kind of work to provide knowledge and resources of the places in each major city that they visit that are, you know, very accessible to people with disabilities, and kind of which places are the easiest for people in wheelchairs to go to and stuff like that. So they're really big advocates for people in wheelchairs and dealing with disabilities. So that's kind of a big part of their ethos behind their travel too. So it's really cool.
Well, that's great, and I like the fact that it's you know, they're also kind of shining a light on an issue, as somebody with, you know, mobility issues, not to that degree, but still, you know, knowing you can get to where you want or need to go is an important thing. And I'm glad they found a place in Tulsa that's amenable. Do they get like, because they were selected for this, does this mean like they're, you know, kind of getting paid for this, or is, you know, or is it just how much of the mechanics of how this works out were you able to find out?
Yeah, so they're not actually getting paid. Lindsay, the mother, still works, and she just works remotely, so she brings all that work with her. But Airbnb is compensating them for the Airbnb stays that they're living in, and I believe also giving them vouchers for travel and like other different like expenses that pop up. So
Okay.
yeah, they're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to kind of travel around. So it's really cool.
And you also mentioned that they were going to be in Tulsa for a few weeks. Is that how they plan these? That they pick, you know, they're not trying to get, you know, I don't know, 52 B&Bs in the
Yeah.
course of the year, or do they try to you know, stay in town for a while and get to learn the town?
Yes. So a big part of why they really wanted to apply to this program is because there's a requirement, I believe, that each place that you stay, you kind of have to stay in for like at least a month, maybe like 4 to 6 weeks, because they really want it to be like, they really want to emphasize like long-term traveling and long-term stays, especially now that like more and more people are working remotely. Airbnb kind of wants to advertise like you can rent one of our places for a whole month and go do your work just somewhere else. So that's kind of the point of it, is, you know, advertising that Airbnbs are available for the long-term stays. So that's something that really appealed to this trio, because they really enjoy kind of traveling all over the country. They were traveling a lot before they entered into this program. So that's, yeah, kind of what they do. They like to stay different places for really long periods of time and kind of live nomadically.
Well, how long had they, when you spoke with them, how long had they been in Tulsa, and what's been their impression of the place so far?
Yeah, when I talked to them last week, they'd been in Tulsa for about a week already. So they were really liking it so far, and really, really interested in exploring all of the different, you know, historical landmarks around Tulsa and different museums and things we have to offer. They made a point to go to Greenwood Rising because their Airbnb is really close to the Greenwood district downtown. So they were really excited to go see that and learn more about the Tulsa Race Massacre and things like that. They've really made an effort to connect to the Cherokee Nation as well. They've been to several Cherokee museums, different art museums around town too, the Woody Guthrie Center. So they've really been making a big push to get all the, you know, historical landmarks in that they can. So they're really trying to take advantage of Tulsa.
Get all the culture we have to offer. Well, that's good. All right. Well, speaking of getting out nationally, a local chef, Candace Conley, she runs a cooking school and catering operation called The Girl Can Cook in downtown Broken Arrow. She was selected to be a contestant on a new show. I believe its first episode aired last Thursday, which would have been the 31st of March. It's called Rat in the Kitchen. And it's on the cable network TBS. And it's a combination cooking competition and detective show. Well, the setup is there are 6 chefs who know next to nothing about each other, who are brought into a kitchen situation where they have to are challenged to make a variety of things over the course of an hour. However, one of the contestants is the rat, who is trying to sabotage everything. And if the rat can sabotage everybody's dishes to the point and do it in such a way that nobody knows who it is, the rat will earn all of the money that's up for grabs, which is $50,000 an episode. Candace spent a month in Atlanta where this was filmed. And she doesn't, because they keep everything, have kept everything very, very hush hush. Not even the only people who knew who the rat was in each episode were the producers, and they were not on set. The host didn't know, nobody knew. So it was a surprise to everybody when they were unveiled. So she doesn't know when her episode is going to air, but the show is on at 8 p.m. on Thursdays on TBS. And I watched the first episode, and it's entertaining. I mean, they put it together well. I mean, it'll hold your attention, and we'll just keep an eye out for when Candace will show up. She when I was talking with her, she said, you would not believe the number of non-disclosure agreements I had to sign to be a part of this. So and that's true with most reality things. They have to, they can't talk about it before it airs. So
as a writer of murder mysteries, do you have some clue who this rat might be yet after watching one episode?
Well, it'll be a different one each time.
Okay.
So I kind of figured out who it was, and I was right, but that's all I will say.
Well, it's nice to know that the rat is a contestant and not an ingredient.
That's true. That's true. I mean, no, as somebody who in a previous life in a previous house had to battle these things, they like gummy bears and Doritos. Do not explain. I cannot explain why. But anyway, you don't want rats anywhere near you. I'll just put it that way. So, okay. Rats are beasts, and there was a comedian that in his life was known as the Beast, who has a big Oklahoma connection. And Jimmy, I think you also have something about that.
Yeah, in remembrance of Sam Kinison, who died 30 years ago, April the 10th, 1992, in a tragic automobile accident on the way to a gig in Laughlin, Nevada. We want to have something about Sam Kinison's life because he is connected to Tulsa. He was born in Yakima, Washington. He was raised in Peoria, Illinois, home of Richard Pryor, also, coincidentally. But Tulsa was his home away from home because his mother married a pastor here named A.D. Marney. And so when he wanted to get away from show business and just have some home time, Tulsa was Sam Kinison's home. And he is buried here at Memorial Park Cemetery, 51st and Memorial. But I interviewed his brother, Bill Kinison, a few years ago for a story about those connections to Tulsa, and have communicated again with Bill, who says, feel free to, dig into Sam's life again. And so Bill wrote a great book called Brother Sam about he and Sam. So he said, feel free to lift any stories from that book, which I'm going to lift a couple or more than a couple because it's a great book. Highly recommended, Brother Sam. But really an iconic figure in comedy, a preacher turned comedian, and his delivery was very much so, screaming. No subject was taboo or off limits. Just an amazing comedy legend who died far too young at age 38. So we want to remember his life.
Well, and he was, I know he appeared in a number of music videos with artists like Bon Jovi and oh dear. And then he did a few himself. He was not
did a Wild Thing video with,
that's what I'm thinking of.
Jessica Hahn was in it, and a few other music artists of note were all in one of his comedy albums was actually half comedy, and the flip side of the album was him singing song covers. So yeah, he was very much a rock and roll comedian.
Okay. And Grace is nodding along like she knows who we're talking about.
Never heard of him, but now I kind of want to look him up because he's like a very interesting figure.
Don't listen to his stuff around young children or easily shocked family members, because he was given to, as a friend of mine once put it, a certain saltiness of expression.
He was banned from Saturday Night Live, and how many people could say that? But he was so popular, they had him back in 2 weeks. So the ban did not last very long.
He was something else. He was also, oh dear, what was that? Wasn't he in a Rodney Dangerfield movie?
Back to School.
Back to School. That's what I thought. Okay.
And should have been in Three Amigos, but his scenes were cut, and he blames Chevy Chase for that, right or wrong. He feels like Chevy Chase didn't want to be upstaged by Sam Kinison.
Because he had a tendency to suck all the oxygen out of a room, that's for sure. Well, if you if it's getting to be lunchtime and you're in the need of a sandwich, we have a review of a new place called the Eiffel Tower Grilled Cheese Company that is opened at 21st and Memorial. They do what they call elevated grilled cheese. Everything does have cheese. At some point, it does show up on a grill, but you're going to get stuff that you're not expecting. One of the things they do offer, though, that I found kind of fascinating is that they offer two types of tomato soup. I mean, grilled cheese, tomato soup, classic. Probably the first thing most people ever cooked for themselves as youngsters. They have a homemade soup, but then they also have what they call classic. And I said, what's the difference between homemade and classic? And they were kind of sheepish when they said, well, that's actually Campbell's. And I said, really? Because I've had their tomato soup, and it's good. I mean, I would recommend getting the homemade tomato soup. And the owner laughed. He said, I had no idea when I started this how passionate people were about tomato soup with grilled cheese. Some people want the Campbell's because it's better to dip in. If you're the type who dip your sandwich, it clings better than the. So anyway, are either of you grilled cheese aficionados?
I wouldn't say I'm an aficionado, but I'm definitely a fan. Did you get anything at this restaurant that you would particularly recommend?
Well, besides the tomato soup, I tried what they called the American, which is their version of a just grilled cheese sandwich, but they use 3 different types of cheese. And the French dip was actually very good. They do their roast beef in house and dress it with a little honey. So it's got an odd, not odd, but it's a surprising sweet note to it. But everything that I've tried there, it was quite good. So they have vegetarian options if you need that as well. So All right. Well, I think that will get us, give you all enough to chew over for the coming week. And so on behalf of my colleagues, Grace Wood and Jimmy Trammell, we will gladly see you later.